friend who was the expert on the railroads and the streetcar and everything, Ray Corley. He was on top under the bridge. So I was there, and there was only 3 people there. There was a lady and my mother, and on it, there was 3 of us. So it was ringing like old H on there. So I said, God, I said, what are we going to do? So we go across. I'll wait for about 10, 15. I got the umbrella, we're going across. This is about 20 minutes after. I'm on top of the tracks on them. And I said, well, my friend was going to give you the story about the railroad track. Then I hear this voice from underneath. The mag line been waiting here for a half an hour. There was Ray Corley under that darn, the rain and everything going on there. And if I wouldn't have gone, could I imagine, we would have grabbed me later and seen you bend on the head. So, I don't know if I need my microphone or anything.
You might do with the street noise, I think.
It all depends on if it is.
May I ask you a question before you start? Thank you, Gene, for being here. Will you be doing something west of here eventually? In the near
well, I'm going to give you guys a. How do you explain it to you?
Because we would live to Broadview and Danforth, and we come to the Prince of Wales show. It's nothing to walk that far.
Well, I'm going to give you all whatchamacallit here.
It's my ladies on a.
If you could fill this out after and whatever the heck you want, whatever you want, because I don't know until you let me know. I just automatically assume that we do. So I pick out the 6 walks on here that we've been doing on there, but let me know your aim just in case something I forgot.
By all
Tell
means.
you, and just give me a comment, whatever. Another one, you want one down here, over there, because I know every one of them. There, not one I don't know, but so unless you can tell me, that's the only way I know. And the only other thing. Those who are taking pictures and taking the making notes and everything, what I found out, which I didn't know, this is going back about 5 or 10 years ago. There's a guy taking notes and everything on my, and then the same person who was taking the notes, who was taking my article from the Beach Metro, he put him into one of our magazines, and he got $3,000 for it. and I got peanuts, and I went. I said, so I thought to myself, so if you're doing this, let me know. Don't go on, and I don't get paid for anything on it. The only thing I get in, I put in a little collection box later on for our, I do the food drive and everything on it. So, now everybody can hear me, eh?
Yep.
Well, that's good on it, because if I use
Anybody else?
No, you can put it around on there.
Okay.
On there. But
Thanks,
remember, when we're doing this on here, if you have any questions or anything on there, I'm supposedly on, but the only thing I'm going to tell you, I got 10 places to go. I can't stop at every mom and pop shop. Oh, my mother, like I told you on there. So I got everything on it. It's baloney. I can't do it. I did that once, and I was, instead of doing it an hour and a half or 2 hours, about 3. Well, my mother had the millinery shop, or my dad had a bootlegger place over here. I just can't do it. I'm going to go whatever I think is the best on there, and they don't. You just can't do it. So we will be stopping 10 times. But we've got so many different. Now, how many people live in the beach or in the area here?
We do. Well, we live by Rhodes Avenue.
Well, I don't care where you live. I just want to know. The reason we're going to have James Walk. The reason I do this here, I used to do the James Walk. I started them 30 years. I lose track of them. And what happens is, if they put it in there, instead of getting our people from here, like 20, I get 100, and over there it's impossible to make sure everything goes properly on here. I'll put them on here, and even got my bullhorn and everything. No, I just put it in everything, and the James Walks, they can do it. Anyways.
Where are the James Walks?
I don't care.
So what are they?
Oh,
Just walks around the city.
well, Jane was she was Jane from New York, and she was one of the best known for walks and everything that you can think of.
Hey, Mama.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, people bang our maid. Where? How are ya? Just with the start this is over the Danforth.
I get our people from the beach. That's it. Anyway. So don't mind me, I'm kind of long-winded, and if I talk too much or ramble, but that's just part of, like my wife said, I don't put on what you see here is what you get. I don't put once ambitious Cedarvale. Where and what is Cedarvale? I was asked by a person living on the Danforth. Cedarvale is the name of two areas in the city. For our purpose, I will write about the one on the Danforth and Woodbine area. The other is the west end near Bathurst and St. Clair. Belong to Pellet, by the way, Serena Pellet. A couple hundred years ago, the Danforth was a muddy trail starting at the Don River going east to Scarborough Town. There weren't many settlers in only in the mid to late 1800s to become to the area. There were market gardeners, farmers, but very little commercial activity until the 1900s. However, the area at Danforth and Woodbine is known as Cedarvale. There was some traffic from farmers heading to the St. Lawrence market with their wagons. To the west of Woodbine was a popular inn known as the Dutch Farm, just over to my left. It was run by Charles Beaver, famous for his German food hospitality. The inn was written on the north side, but later rebuilt on the south side for two French farmers. That spot, the stream ran south, and the north of the railroad ran. This pond was used by the Trans-Canada Railroad, later C&I, to supply water for the steam engine. Later, when the Dutch farm was gone, Mr. Harris had a large rendering glue factory on here. Mr. Harris, he had horses, hundreds and hundreds of horses along here. And he had the Harris family was involved in politics. And he employed at least 300 people on here. But let me tell you what happened one day. One day when I was doing a walk that's going back about 40 years ago, one of the women said to me, I was doing a walk in St. John's, Norway, in the cemetery. So over here, I just started, that was about 45, so I thought there was a Harris. Everybody was over this section, and the Harris was over there. R.C. Harris, right next to him, it's only 10, the most about half HAR was 5 to 10 feet away. So Joe Harris, the most political Harris, and the other one was what they call the Snow Harris. So I'm going on there, then I get a poke in the back from the lady, and she said, "How dare you equate my uncle, Roland Caldwell Harris, with the political Harris or the smelly Harris from, you know." I'm looking for a place to jump into the grave. The lady was from St. John's, Norway, my age then, and I don't know what am I going to say? She knew. So later I checked. Right. None of these Harrises, R.C. Harris wasn't related, but she was there for my phone, and I learned. I used to be 100%, only 98%.
So what time period, what years are you talking about here with the farms and all that stuff?
That was going back from the 1880s. Everything that you're going, that's why I'm going back. I don't want to hit going back. That's the 1880s, 1890s. I'm not going to hit that. I'll hit that when I use car lessons. That's where I'm on. You don't get the history. Anyway, on the east side of the Danforth was what's called Cedarvale. And over there we have the racetrack with the gate over at Dave Man. Prior to the First World War, buildings and homes of varying sizes dotted the glory years were about to begin for Cedarvale. It was the means of transportation.
Janeville.
Population and commercial influence. Even though Cedarvale was in the city directly, it stretched from close to Coxwell in the west end, and Main Street in the east end, Plumsland to the north, and a rail line to the south. The people lost again. The city city of Toronto triumphed and gobbled up Cedarville. What made it such an important area? Television and the mind of the neighborhood is used. Historical churches, the Danforth Mennonite churches, outside of Danforth, now over 100 years serving the meaning, and the architectural gem of the Danforth Gospel Hall, with the front pillars standing guard for decades of Hope United Church System. Three major banks cater to the people of Cedar Vale, along with several smaller financial institutions. On the northwest corner, we had Jenny Lynn, Candy Shop, Laura Secor, F.W. Woolworth, S.S. Crepley, Loblaw, and Acme Dairy, Starboard Dairy, and Triple Meat Market, all along Your Honor. That's why I just had to run. I can't tell you what Mary Joseph's hand had to handle. We had Strickland's Meat Market, still was in business, down tomorrow. Tracy Cargill was still illegal. There used to be more car lots on the Danforth than any other area. There was a telegraph service at 2129. What's a telegraph service? Well, if you like to get it. Now and then, and I'm going to your store over here, the winemaking store over here. After we had the Wembley Tavern, everything that makes the town or village was in Cedar Vale. Community that people wanted. Some of the streets in the area, Lead Hill, Woodmont, Old Preston, Paris, Newmarket, Darncaster, Keystone, Epsom Road, East and Westlake, Gate Street. What happened to the section of the answer is simple. Houses, shops, and acre areas during the 1930s to the early 1960s. But a modern phenomenon happened. Subway, transportation went underground, and with it the people's businesses collapsed lower and lower sky. Progress had involved such as the demise of the Danforth. Who knows? Who knows why? Go along with the street song. He knows.
Yes. Last time was Space for a long day. I have to look after him. Say hi.
Hey guys, hi Mara.
Hello, Gabe Bangor, Maine.
How you doing?
One of the things is we had many, several prominent, families around here, and also in the entertainment. One of the most famous that we know, they had one of them that was the Somerville film. There was a mayor who had his pool on there, but his father was one of the big time operators on the Danforth on here. They also were in the entertainment business. Right behind us, they operated which was probably one of the classiest theater, was the Prince of Wales Theater. Now the Somerville family, they're involved in everything on here, theater on here, and Donald Somerville, the fall of it. They're probably in my estimation, the fourth largest, biggest family for at least 60 years. People don't give them enough credit. The worst thing was that Donald Somerville, remember when he passed on, he was a sportsman like anything else. So the theater is still here, the building is still here, but it just turned into the Value Mart and everything on here. But we have to give credit. He did an awful lot of good things, and the only reason when they renamed the pool, he died at the same time that John F. Kennedy. So he took a back seat to him on it. But the Somerville family was, I'll give you a personal on there. He had a wife, and he used to live on out in Scarborough, a couple of blocks from Victoria Park. And because of his name, his wife ran for politics, and she got in twice in there because of nobody knew who she was or anything, but because of the name, she came on there, and there she was on there. So this one here was our most favorite thing. I won't tell you, like I said, I can't tell you about the value of it. So this is why we're going to go on the most, to me, which is the most important thing. And you can do it, especially like I'll be doing with the kids. I do a couple of school things to them, but I can't tell them about it. Well, this guy was a thing, and he ran around with the prostitutes over there.
He was the
Well, I got to be careful, so.
Merline, hello Merline.
Wake up in there. Well, 3 of our politicians have their headquarters on the Danforth, by the way. Mary Margaret, Brad, and Nathaniel Erskine Smith. This guy's been, the 12th Fred has been around here for, I don't know for how many years on here, but if you want to, he's also,
Hi there.
Hi.
So a couple words about the business.
I don't know how long you've been, I don't care about the other one there.
Yeah,
Just you
sure.
guys.
Yeah, the
All
12
right,
Friends
all right.
started in 1977, not in this location. I think we moved here in like 93-ish.
Yeah.
We've been around since 1977, specialize in new and used instruments, and with an emphasis on vintage and collectible instruments as well. So, small sort of family style business, been around for a long time.
The same family, by the way.
Yeah, same owner since the beginning, yeah.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
I tried to get, I hit about 5 or 6 businesses that have been around, and I tried to get them, but they weren't around on there. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, folks.
Okay. Now here's where I got into a lot of trouble.
Interesting.
Well, Well, there's people. Anybody live on Gled Hill?
Yes.
I hope you're not the one that I yelled at.
Sure, it's not me. I'm north of Lumsden, so it's just...
No, that, okay, so over here on this street, on here, you got the Terry Fox Community Center. You got the Gled Hill School. But the most important thing, and one of the only, I think, 5 things I could find out in the entire GTA from 100 and some odd years ago, and that's where I got the thing. One of the lady lived, no, you don't have it. So what I made sure, I brought the damn thing along on here. So if they want to argue with me, I never had. I said, well, I won a bet for $50 one day. So over here, what we had was a large, giant powder magazine. They stored dynamite, powder, right up on that section going on there. So that's what's for what it was. The Grand Trunk Railroad, which we'll see over on the other side, they used to have the place to put for the blasting part. So you got to remember, oh, by the way, take your damn heads off, forget all of these different things that I have. That's what I tell my kids. I don't say damn on there. Remember, this was empty farmland. Over in that section when I'm talking about, this is what I got the guy from the paper saying, well, it wasn't it. So I said, oh yeah. So over there, where there's maybe 5 or 6, but there was a giant powder, not a giant, but a powder thing, which if it would have gone or blown up, it would have blown up half of the area. Now in those days, there was only 6 or 7 houses going up in Gled Hill at the time. And the powder room was, I still don't know the exact thing on it, but it was over in that section. So the people got up in arms. The powder was there 130, from 1890. That makes about 135, 140. It was there for 30 years. When it started going up, building up on here, there's maybe 5 or 6 houses on here. And some of the people didn't know that. You're buying a house here. How do you know what the heck's up in that section? Here was this powder thing where it was called a Hamilton powder mill. They brought the stuff in from Hamilton and they would put the dynamite in it, and there was a big outcry that the people finally found out about it. So they went over there and went to the city. But remember, the city wasn't in charge of it. But they went in charge, I think it was 1910 when they started hollering about it. So they went in and got a petition to get rid of it. There was a caretaker, Mr. Hyatt. He said, I've been here for 20 some odd years for the first time. It's just these people in here. Because that was not part of the city at the time. They could put whatever the heck they wanted on there. So they had this powder mag, and I don't know when it's up, and I don't, to this day, now to imagine if we would have had that now, you'd have the environmental studies. So to this day, I asked the city told me, I said, here, take a look at this. So if you want to look, you're on here. You can read that for me. What does it say on it? The powder, just the powder.
powder magazine, yes.
On there, can you see the...
Against powder plant. People are up in arms against powder plant. Red Hill Avenue residents think it is dangerous, so raising protests, some facts about it. Trespassers will be prevented to... Anyway, I better get
No, but just see how close it is.
Yeah.
To show you how many
See
feet,
the powder
I think it was only a
magazine
couple
from
hundred
approximate
yards
distance of houses.
on here. Can you imagine that on there? So that's why I had to bring the paper. And thank God at least I have a person on here. You can take a look at that. And when
It
you
might
see,
not have been dangerous if there wasn't a flame, though. That's the thing. You store the powder separately from where you do the emulsion.
but this thing, if it went up, can you imagine? They
Yes.
said about that explosion.
Yes, if there was a fire.
Can you imagine? They said they had one fire. The caretaker said there was one fire which the people on the. Can you imagine? This thing, a giant thing, and it's very hard. I've only found 4 other places, and they were in the middle of nowhere. But this was in our populated area of Cedarville, on there, and I don't know on this. So you can take a look at it. It was right here, and you live here on this. So
Yeah, that's very interesting.
I wanted to make sure that I got some on here. When I tell people, they'll think, oh, he made that in his mind. No, 95% of the things that I'm telling you, I did my own research. But unless I got something like that to actually show the people, you know, guys, I used to have the guy from the city, oh no, there it is right down from the newspaper. It was there for 40 years or so, on there from the 1890s right until, I don't know, I think they dismantled it during the First World War. So are there any questions? Okay.
Piece of rail line. I was always thought I'd back to today. This piece of the road, what is it? Is this a throwback? Was there a streetcar prior to the subway? This piece of rail right on the railroad.
Oh yeah. Although that's if you don't want to.
Yeah, so that's just they never took that out.
They never. Oh, by the way, they did about a dozen different things for the streetcars along the Danforth on there. You know, they're like sometimes you go down Woodbine, and you'll see.
Hey, Brad Palmer, how are you? Welcome to my live. You see Merline?
When the subway was first built, Woodbine was the last stop.
No, I mean, like this piece was a streetcar. This piece right here.
This was the yard here that went out to Victoria Park.
It's like that one piece. They never.
Yeah.
They never.
They had that along all
They turned it into a condominium, you know, into a hotel. That's next year. I'm sorry if I take so long, but that was one of the most important things in here, and I had to make sure that you saw that one. Has everybody got the book or anything?
Hey, always live, Epic Ninja.
You want to say something about your store? You want to come out and say a few words?
Hi, folks. Kind of a grim day for a tour.
One of the things which I want to, this is not, it's been here for a number of years, but prior to there was another wool shop here in the same area. That's why I want to make sure that, just tell them a few words.
Yeah, way back in the, I think it was the 1920s, this was originally a woolen mill where they spun and carded and all that. And here we are a century later, and it's again a wool store. Yeah, we've been here for, in this location, we've been here about 32 years. And we're the longest running yarn shop in Toronto. We've been around 63 years. Yes.
And if any of your ladies, they have a thing on Saturday, is it?
What's that?
For your ladies to come up and do the
Oh, we have classes in the evenings. Yeah. Yeah.
This is one of the ones that I do want to show you to make sure that's been around. So I can't tell you about the other one, or the hotel that was on that side on here. So I want to make sure the one that's been
And I
around.
see a nice knitted sweater over there.
And you're still selling weekend.
Put your glasses.
Nice ghost sign.
Okay. In the old days, the two they used to have, and it's It's still there. When I first went on it, it was nice and bright. We used to have signs on the back of all the buildings. There's one there that goes back of at least 100 years or so on here. So that's how they used to be on there. And anything that you can think of on here. This is one. If you see a lot of the buildings on here, but this is the only one of the ones that survived on here. So.
What was the original name of the shop?
All right, this is the Danforth Mennonite Church. I was asked, I had to make sure, generally I just yap away with it. Well, like when people say, who are the Mennonites? The Mennonites trace their roots in 16th century Anabaptists who are part of the Protestant Reformation. Anabaptists believed in adult believers' baptism, separation of church and state, and rejection participation in war. Anabaptist means rebaptizer, a name given to these reformers because their adult baptism followed their earlier baptism as infants. Church welcomes the Anabaptist, a tradition included in the Birth Evan and Christ Evangelical Mennonites, Hutterites, Old German Mennonites, Old Colony Mennonites, Old Mennonites, and the Mennonites. The name Mennonites comes from Menno Simons, the 16th century Dutch and Baptist church. Now this, pardon? Sorry.
Thank you very much, Sir Epic Ninja.
The last time I did it, nobody told. Oh, you never told the history of them. But they came around. The Baptists have been around the fish from every country in the world. There's something right on it. It's like going on over 15 now. Been around. They started here in 19. I got a picture of it. There's a picture you can put around on the. What it used to be like. They started here in 1909 on the one down in on Queen Street. No, this is the oldest one. They came over here in 1909. They had a small little church on it. You can see the picture of them on here. They're involved in everything. I'm involved in the food bank, for example, but I don't go up here. They help people. Everything that you can think of is on it. And this church is the second, or third, fifth section on here. Like I say, they stand on here, and all of the original ones that were on here. And Jim, the one year I had, he said I couldn't come out this year. We would have been inside on here, but this is one of the oldest ones on here that's been around here in the Mennonite Church. I think in the city. I don't know if it's the oldest in the city, but in the East End for sure. It is on here, so they do everything in here. You can rent the hall too in here, so but this is one of the ones that's hidden. When somebody goes around, you never ever see the darn thing. This is part of the Danforth Mennonite Church. I come in, they're still around, and they're just as good as anything else. Any questions?
What's that little window?
Oh, there was a butcher shop. Yeah. They've been around for 67 years. 67 yes. So they're one of the largest. They're still around on here. They're one of the few. Her husband's still in there too. The beauty is to still enjoy. It's always to enjoy something. That's what you want to look inside. I let you in. I have the extra surveillance. Well, that's always when we're starting to rain. We want to make sure.
Thank you.
I don't think you have a license. You have a license? I don't think you have a license. You think so? I don't think you have a license. I'll be honest. If you do, oh yeah.
Sebastian. Welcome. The Danny.
Oh yeah.
The Danforth crossbow ball. Been around the oldest church. It wasn't here, it was located in Conway Cabin, by the way. 1890. They moved up here, and to me, architecturally, I forget what the name on the one we're having, so they had another one on there, but it wasn't that big. They came up here, they changed it to the gospel hall. Then they existed as a church. Resident well, they went to 130, 140 years to move on here. And it's really one of the classiest looking one architecture. I generally don't think with the architecture, but to me it looks one of the nicest ones that we had. Across the street. Do any of you old timers remember what this used to be?
The Wise Guys Tavern was on this spot.
The Wrigley Hotel also on here. It's a long time.
I bet you they have good pizza.
Oh yeah.
Car lots everywhere. I used to go back, forget the on there. It was just, if I went to every one car lot on there, I lost the car I had. There was 19 car lots between on there. And there's one, the classiest one, I used to sell the Mercedes, Benz, and the other one close together. But the other one, I used to come up when I was a kid in New Jersey. And you go up to the up here to Danforth, and looking for a car at the car lots right here. cardboard board. We used to put our, I think we did, I forgot the town was one of the buildings that we put on, there's one on Queen Street, another one, the Hydro building. They are architecturally, I know I can't, but I put, this one is on our, that's been around. Later when they moved, but they didn't have anything down there, only but it doesn't have anything. Oh, by the way, you had hotels, you had there. Yeah.
Mommy, stay with your mom.
Private. The big one over here, Acme. Yeah. So we had 16 days. I see that. We're gonna laugh at this one here on here, but you have to have a little. When I first went, so you're going to follow me, you'll see why I'm going to laugh. Well, I got to tell you before, I had some guys that sometimes go on my walks all the time. And last year, I had one guy, well, you didn't tell them, you didn't show us, you're talking about all those dairies and everything, and you didn't show us where the dairies, houses, and they're still there. And this one we're going to see is the Scarborough Dairy on here that's been around, but it's a little bit different. And you'll see why in a minute.
Milk Bottle Lane.
Oh, yeah.
I'll ask him later.
If I told them, they wouldn't believe me unless they saw it.
Yeah.
Take a look at the sign that you see in the lane on there. You must be.
Hi.
Hello, come over here and tell me.
We're actually doing construction right now. Sorry.
Anyways, this is the place. I always make sure that this is the place where the dairy actually was. The actual thing on it. One of 16 dairy. Try and use your imagination. Forget the things on here. This was the actual dairy, and these people were trying. What they wanted to do was put Dairy Lane in there. You know, from a couple of years ago when we put it on. It was called the Scarborough Farm Dairy, by the way. One of about 16. I did an article, I think, on I don't know how many years ago on a different dairy. But this is the one that stands out. The Acme Farmers Dairy was at the corner. But this was one of the ones for quite a number of years. Can you imagine the horses coming out on here? And this gentleman, they fixed the place up here. And it was actually, so what, instead of, they couldn't get Dairy Lane, we tried to get Dairy Lane because there was another dairy. So what they put in was, this was the one of 16, probably more, but the 16, going back to 80 years ago, that was around here. And if you want to, this is the place where you go, this place was here. But remember, forget how it looks now. Try and remember how it did look on, because it was right on this side, not the front. This section here, there's no cars, there's no garages. This is where you have to use your imagination again. And just go back, forget the house, come out with the horses and everything going on. And this is the place where they actually had it on here. So, and well, sometimes I forget when I looked at the other one. You never took us down and see them. I said, well, now we have down. We put it in I was really surprised. And I said, well, why didn't you call it the Starbucks? We put them something a couple of years That's why I said, you never did that. And you can tell everybody in the rest of the city there is only one place where they have Milk Bottle Lane on here. That's right below the Danforth. No, that's where I'll give you a song and dance on there. That's want to make sure that we have. Okay, now, our area, in the old days, there was 4, 5 different names for the other one. I told you about Cedarvale, okay? But prior to Cedarvale, there was which was the larger, there are smaller ones, well, we'll see them, Coleman, but the largest one was the village, later the town of East Toronto. It was a village from 1888 to 1909 when the city gobbled them up. They were over from Beach Avenue to someplace around Woodbine. Over the years, they took other things on here. Now, there's 2 people who actually made them. The first one was Benjamin Morton. This was named after. You see Ben Lamont down there. He had a large estate down there, and he owned, a couple of 100 acres over on this section on here. He's the one who was involved with the railroad, Benjamin Morton on there, and he was involved in a lot of things on. And then when they first put the village of East Toronto in 1888, the Reeve, which was later become a mayor, was a gentleman called Donald George Stevenson. This was named after. Donald George Stevenson was the warden of York County. He came from Scarborough on here and became the big cheese down here. But Donald George, he was a real big man. He was 6'4", weighed 260 pounds. Donald George loved the good life. He had Victoria Park over in that section over at Victoria, where Darcy Harris landed. And they used to have all of these big parties over there, which Donald George threw all the time for 3 or 4 years. He was a reed from the beginning right until 1894. But this is where I got to be careful. Are there any people from Donald George Stevenson's? No. This is part of it. No, his big house was on Girard in Maine. It's still there. I put it down at the historic site. It's the largest house on Girard and Donald George on there. So what happened is that Donald George had a habit of, see that lady in the back? One of those 2? Oh, so they would come. Well, I'm just using that. He would come over, and he would talk to them or something, and he would say, "Oh, that other lady over there." They ended up. Remember, he was the big cheese and everything to read. They ended up giving him their money. They gave one lady lost $4,000. This is going her life saving. So Donald George, over the number of years, accumulated all of this wealth.
He was a con man too.
Well, I didn't. Well, that's why I said. But I didn't. When I said that, I had one of his great granddaughters, and I got so careful. But you have to know this is part of the history. So they did an audit in 1894, 5 years after that, and they found out that the town had no money. Somebody had walked away with all the money, so they did an investigation, and then they looked, and some of the ladies came out, and they tried to get their money from Brother George to do something, and they went and they found out that he absconded with tens of thousands of dollars. So apparently, Donald George had a few daughters, and his wife on it, which I'll show you her house, and he ran away apparently to Buffalo.
Shuffled off to Buffalo.
So they couldn't find him. So his wife had this large house, which is still there when we go on there, and she took in about 15 or 20 roomers, because all the money that he owned. They sold off. He had a lovely horse carriage and everything on there. But a year later, they said there was a ghost. They call it the ghost on there. They said that there was something making noises up on the third floor on it. So what we didn't know, Donald George had moved in upstairs and became a skeleton of his former big guy on there, and he died there up on the third. And they finally found out, so they buried him over in Scarborough, where he came from. The wife had to sell the house, and we'll see her a little on there. But they named the street after him on here. That's why on there, because and like Benjamin was a good guy. Well, one of the good guys on there. But we did have our not. How would you call them, thieves? But I think the con men. But he took away thousands. Apparently, I was looking through the thing, and I said, gee, there must have been at least 50 women things on it. Because here's the, oh yeah, come over here. I got this nice thing for you to invest in. He invested in himself, and he squandered all this money. He would throw these big parties, with a couple of hundred people in Victoria Park, and he paid for them. Where the hell? Well, that's exactly, and they found it out, and then they went looking for him. I think if they would have got Brother George, he would have fixed him much good. Well, the rain's holding out.
Pretty much.
Now remember, everybody, you gotta forget all. Remember, but you remember about Regent Park, eh? When they built that. Okay, so on the Danforth, there was only one place where they had the co-ops, and this one here is the only one where you had a co-op going on here. It's probably the best. Well, I've looked at everyone on Queen Street. This is the best looking one and the best kept in the entire. It's the only one. You won't find another one anywhere on the Danforth at all or anyplace else. This is the one right here on here. So this is the best kept. This is my estimation. I have one on Queen Street as well. Oh yeah, but I mean,
my understanding is these were built, the one on Green was for veterans of World War II.
yeah, well, it's supposed. Yeah, this is it. I mean, the original. Oh yeah, that's like I said. The reason. Nothing that, like all the rest of a lot of things that you damage the thing, but this thing is.
Hello. Welcome to tour the Danforth.
there again, use your imagination how it used to be. All those places, so you can do everything, and there's nothing really important there. There's nothing wonderful. But my mother said I still have a millinery shop. I can't say that everything is on the car lot going on here. But on that section we're talking about, the largest and the most expensive car dealership was right in that corner. I sold Buick Avenue there for about 50 or 60 years. It was the most expensive one that you could have all that money all the way down. All the other ones. You would have to hang around the whole picture. You'd have to be a millionaire or a very wealthy person. That's where you would go to get the large car, whatever it would be. Not the Rolls Royce, but all the other ones they would sell it right in that section. You can hear over. Forget these stores here. This is where the little small, ridiculous residences were. I'll show you that it's still around. The brick is everything down. Okay, remember, I gotta be careful again here. Got any orange men here? With my big mouth, sometimes once I didn't, I had to go over and I was told off by one of the, who was a very funnel. The Orange Order, you know what the Orange Order was?
Yeah.
They were a Protestant denomination that were actually the ones who ran East Toronto. They were in the majority of here, 95% of them, and they built a few of their Masonic temples and this and that on here. They were on Queen Street. They had that place. So, but this is part of history on here. So I'm not, because they built the area. They built the Orangemen, Scots, Irish, Welsh, and English. They're the ones who actually built. So I'm not putting them, I'm just telling you a taste of history. So they put, when you see it, they put the one on Queensland. But the building that you see over there now is an art center, and that's the Masonic 29. That building that you see there on the side. Yeah, the one right in the back of KFC. That was supposed to be the one. That's but that was in the Masonic temple. They were the they were in charge right until my good friend Nate Phillips came around when he became the mayor on here. So that's it. But that's the one that's part. The building is still there. It's got its little, it's an art center or something. But in the little corner, there's a little section of the Masonic thing and everything on here, and you have the rights and everything. I used to go up there, and I said, what the heck was that? And when I went up there, it wasn't very nice. I tell you. Well, the reason I went up there was another reason. A friend of mine named Blaine after. Okay, we're here on Main in Danforth. Dawes in Danforth. Whatever you want to go, I'll tell you after. This was probably, how is it Springfield? It would be like Young and Queen in the city of Toronto. On here, I'm jumping from one bank. This is the bank used to have, well, first on this side here, Hope United Church, Hope Methodist Church was on this south side, 1889. It started over on Dawes Road. On here, and they were built over by the family that was on the other side. But again, use your imagination all the way down Main Street. Look at this house. Forget the big giant things that I tried to whole side. Going all the way down to Kingston Road. We were like this. Again, this is something like George Stevenson did. From the prior to the First World War, everybody started putting their money into the home bank, which was another bank before. Now, millionaires, Sir Henry Pellet and the other owned the darn thing on there. So again, somehow or other, hundreds of millions of dollars were squandered from the home bank. So after the First World War, the government, the federal government, started making an investigation. Where the hell did all the money go? Who was responsible? So you got to be careful. This is where, remember Henry Pellet, he lost all of his thing, he lost his money and everything. He was bankrupt. He ended up in a small little place up in Long Branch, in his chauffeur's house. The government inquired and found out that these guys squandered all the hundreds of millions. So the home bank is only two, one here and one on Kenilworth and Queen. They put an act in that could never happen again. These people could never happen again. Here we are on 50th. The bank is all on that one, but there was another thing prior to that one. So going down here, of what, at least I can say out of the 100 or 200 houses I tried to, this was one of the, we tried to, it was there, it's supposed to be put into the Stevenson Park, but this is a perfect example of how the houses, remember, use your imagination, forget all these big giant, all the way down 100 houses like this were there, and you'll see some of them, sorry go down. Now, okay, over on that side, we had curls here. Okay, we had the Aberdeen curling rink. This was the first and largest curling rink. We had to go from 1889 to about 19, right to the First World War, about 20 or 30 years, right in that section where you have it on the Aberdeen curling rink. It was an indoor. No, indoor. They had everything. They had a little outdoor curling rink in the back, but they had a large, he was there, I think it was 1922, and they were enlarging the Main Street, they ripped it down. But this was a social hub over on the north. See where Mac over here? That's the oldest thing. It started by 1892. Not long, and Mac and all we had Paul Bubick was there, and a few others. He was also a carpenter who would make the furniture for you. But you started at the first one, and you were able to see, if you go inside, I used to over on that section to the Grand Trunk Railroad, which later became the CNR, just towards thing, was the largest and the only reason that we're here today, the only reason that East Toronto was here, any of the other places that they came on here, and that was there. It started in 1882, well actually 1857, the first one on here, which was there on here, and Benjamin Morton, I told you, he wasn't a crook or anything, but he was a pretty fancy because he owned all the land, so he had to lean in with the Grand Trunk. So he sold them this land over here for the railroad. And in its end, we had more things on here, and it was responsible. In the village of each one, 5,000 people. Because of the railroad, we had at least 800 employees. And they lived in places like this. We had special places, which we'll go on to when I make the Danforth book. But then later became York Station. And then we had different names, Little York, all the stuff on here. But that place was the Aberdeen Railroad. Sports-wise, and everything was right here. And if it wasn't for the Grand Trunk Railroad, later the CNR, I wouldn't be here talking. Maybe at a later date, because of the railroad, they employed all, and they started everything going on here. That's the reason why I'm doing on this today, right on that section there now. To the north of us, I'll just explain here. My friend, Stanley Grizzle, anybody know Stanley Grizzle? Put my way back here. You know Stanley Grizzle? Are you from the city? Anyway, Stanley Grizzle is my friend. He was a black activist. He worked on the railroad. He stood up for all of it and so Stanley Grizzle is in the area on here. So what they did, they put a plaque on it. Then I found out that they took the plaque away. But they named the place a park after him, Stanley Grizzle Park. But on that plaque, they showed up everything that he did on it. They put a little laneway. Well, they named the laneway after me too down there. That's what they said. But that was one of the ones. But on this section right here, any racetrack with those people. Anybody play the horses or anything? Okay, well, to the north, up here, going up Main Street, you can't see or anything on, just past San Grizzle Park, was the first racetrack in the East End. Forget the Woodbine. It was big, it had different names, it had gates on there. The first Queen's Plate in the East End in 1868 was run there. 1868. And on there. And Charlie Gates was the guy who owned that. He owned a couple of 100 acres of land on there, and he had he was a horse fencer, but he had the racetrack there on there before him. And when you try and imagine this, I should have brought it up, people wouldn't believe it. 8,000 to 10,000 people showed up in 1868. Now this is why I try. There was no streetcars. There was no things to get over here. Well, if you go to his place and watch, but they did. This is why I try and explain to people. You got to use your imagination on here. And I didn't bring the dining, but there it was in the picture. 8,000 to 10,000 people showed up. They came along. It wasn't the remember. They took Uber. What do you mean? The Danforth. Remember, it wasn't Danforth. Remember when I told you when I put my article? What was it? It wasn't the Danforth at all. I don't even know where that name came from around here at all. I'm trying to go, but it became the Danforth after. It was going to be named Bloor Street. Prior to building the bridge across the Don Valley, whatever on that, they were going to put a Bloor Street. The Danforth, Asa Danforth, he was an American builder, who the Governor Simcoe hired to build the road from St. Lawrence Hall over to Kingston, the road to Kingston. That's what it was. He was the one who built it. Nothing to do, he never had nothing to do with the Danforth at all. So, but what happened was, we ran out of money. We went about 35 miles away from Toronto because he said the government was too cheap to pay everyone. No, that's part of the, on this. So right over there where we stopped, from then on they call it Danforth Road. For some reason, brother, they tend to make it Danforth Avenue. It's Danforth Avenue is about 6 miles from, going on. It had nothing to do with here at all. Nothing. If the thing should have named was Kingston, I should have named Danforth on there because he's the one who built it. He had nothing to do with this place here. So anyway, in 1868, we had 500 soldiers coming up here, being banned and everything. And they came wagging on the old boat, old road going on. There was nothing I could see on it. Imagine 8,000 people trying to come by the Grand Trunk Railroad. They'd come by, it took them, I don't know how many hours, but imagine going up into that, watching the clean straight. Exactly, there was never that many people, 8,000 of them going, actually on them, coming, walking. It took them from downtown, from all across Ontario, by the way. That was the social event of the year. So that was right all on the other side on it. This section was the commercial section, sports section, financial, everything that you can think of right here on Main and down to the villages and later the town of East Toronto. Are there any questions?
Yeah, is there any plaquing or identification of where this racetrack was?
That's my fault. Until you meant see that. The streets and everything are named after the different, they had 4 or 5 different names of it, but we never put a bloody plaque, and I don't know why I didn't. Because I've known about that for 50. No, it's never too late.
All right, let's go for it.
But I'll tell you what I want.
Revitalize
What
the
I
whole
want
area
I want to
here.
put a plaque up to here for the village town of East Toronto on here, and showing all the different names, all the different places, what it was over here. And I got them, and I said that I've been doing this for 20 years. Nobody, and what happened? They put and I got my friend from here, the lawyer here. I wanted to put it all the way down here. Don't laugh. I'm going to ask you people, please help me out on that. Send to the city, the historical. And for some reason, we'll do it. All the way down this one, you've got in West Toronto, you've got all different places. You got the Leslieville. There was no Leslieville or anything on here. That's just a person's thing on here.
I was wondering, in this little lane here, was this developed to access the rail line?
Oh,
this lane off of...
no, Forget the stop sign. Over there, by the way, and the people the village of East Toronto and the Grand Trunk, they go for roots and everything on here. But everything going on, we just go on both sides. All the way on this side. Forget these big darn things on here. And you had the Grand Trunk Railway. Right here, going on down here. Not that both commercial, going down both sides. get the bridge. Just look at that one house. You think going down the
He's coming.
The housing he owned about 300 commercial time. I'm involved with the food banks. If anybody wants to make a donation, please do so. We do the thing on the interface on there, and I bring that part of that on it. So if you want to make a donation, and then follow me. Guys who are young, oh, why are we waiting for the, my thing is I wait for the person who's in the wheelchair, the last person. If they don't like it, it's too bad, you know, that's the way I do it on this section here, going all the way over, forget the island, going all the way over to the end where we are, I call it Builder's Highway. We had more 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 coal yards, construction, wood plants, everything going all the way over to where we're at Dodge Road, all over here. They were the construction area, because you know when they were building it, this was the area where that construction street for Plymouth, all the way over, and they ripped down the Aberdeen curling rink. There was nothing here. There's no houses that we can think of, just these giant coal yards, millings. Well, you can think on, they're the ones that actually had everything going on here, right over to this section. All it was, you just see cutting on this was a construction area right over everyone here. There was no building except a construction building that came on here, and they were here for right until these things started coming up on. Got my wrist slats worked a couple of years ago when I forgot to mention the oldest law firm on the Danforth from 1921, the Webster. I don't know, I don't know if the dog is still in there, but they were there from in there, and it's still known as the Webster. What do you call it? Fish and chip store, Duckworth.
Right.
But they weren't there always.
$1980, $1930.
Okay. Yeah, well, here. Where I had the office. why I take you on the walk for? You know, you should be able to see it. Which one is it?
Furniture and interior.
YouTube. YouTube.
Yeah, but for where was it going? I gotta know where you're going, taking it.
I'll write it down for you. Do we see it?
Do they see it?
We see it right there.
Yeah. See if they get it. Anybody spotted it yet?
Furniture store.
I'm going back, I don't know, about 40 or 50 years, I went around, sorry. I went inside that place when it was a furniture store. I went around the back first. This is going, about 40 years ago on there, and it, on there, and I looked in the basement. It has the little, like the posts holding the damn thing up, and that was it. I don't know if they took them out on there, but that used to be Coleman's Hotel, etc. But this is how they used to look on there. That's the oldest one that I can think of. I've seen around on Danforth on there, and I had the school kids on there. And he said, "What? That's right over there."
Now, that'd be designated heritage, or they could tear it down if they want to see it?
I tried to get that. He said, "No, it's just a storage." The guy who wanted, it's in the back. This is the end of my story. This has different Dawes Road. Comes all the way, starts at Victoria Park, coming all the way down from, I don't know where up on it's a dividing line between Scarborough and the township of York on here. It used to be called Coleman Corners, Little York. It had a half a dozen different names on here. We had on this section, this was the beer capital. Noah's Ark was on the other side on there. The Effingham Hotel, which was supposedly the classiest hotel on the Danforth. It was there from 1890s to 1920. And Mr. Danforth, when he sold out to the Danforth Hotel and everything up there, going up on the east side, probably the wealthiest family in Canada, the Massey family. They're the ones who built Hope United Church. Massey, he was the, I don't know how you define it, the farm implement capital of the world. He gave the family gave hundreds of millions of dollars. Massey Hall, different things on there. They owned that land going over for about 200 acres. They were the farm implement. They got awards from Russia, all across, the largest ones in there. And they gave out millions and millions of dollars on it without anyone on there.
So where's the old land? Where the old land up to Massey?
Everything to the east of going right over towards Victoria Park, and from the Danforth up to the east of Dentonia. It was named Dentonia Park after Walter Massey's wife on there. But they were on the. They had. There's a one. If you go up far enough, about a mile and a half, there's one house which is still there. It's the Peace Garden on there. It's the last of the Massey's house that was in there. It's a real large one on there.
It's on Dawes?
Hey?
It's on Dawes?
Yeah, it's on Dawes, but it's over past Crescent Town, and it's about a mile and a half. But there's maybe a dozen small little houses which belong to her, because they employed about 150 people. They had their farm, they had their dairy farm, everything. They started, I think there's Acme Farmers Dairy, and they're the ones on there. Without them, you know, we wouldn't have any everything on here. They did so many good things. The Governor General was a Massey on there, and the thing. In fact, I was born on Massey Street, out in the West End on there. That's what on there. So on here, this was so many different. They had a school up there called Coleman Corn. Down here, Dawes Road. You got on this Dawes Road. This is where Dawes Road. All the way down. You want to look at the old building? What old building? It's the oldest building we have on here. It used to be a mill.
Yeah.
I get my wrist slapped if I didn't show them this one. If I were to show you this, some person would say, gee, you didn't show them your old building that you saved.
Are you safe? Yeah. I agree to be built into something else.
Yeah.
We're going to move this too, aren't they?
Yeah, I know that's one of the least. Now we've got to keep using it. Well, we've done using it. Oh, it's going to be the biggest. That's when we were able to see the facade on there. You know what? The developers are always bringing in
Oh, I know.
the odd ones, you know. Well, you know, I'll give you a perfect example. Oh, Jesus. There's one person's going to be the best known down on Danforth. Dawes Road. Again, used to be the main thoroughfare for, look at it going right down there. You go down the King, it turned into Main Street at one time. On your Dawes Road is the oldest, second oldest. It dates from 1839. The town line. Victoria Park So on here, you gotta again use your imagination. You got a blacksmith shop. You got the hotel there on both sides. And the only thing that out there is the facade. There used to be a mill. This used to be a mill on here for feed mill and everything on there. So what we did, they saved the facade on here just to show you how it used to look before. There used to be an art, another art thing in the building too. But we were able 20 years ago, we used to have a bird feeding there. Yeah, and so in there. Now this is the, used to be located, I should see, on the north side of Dawes Road, about 300 or 400 feet above on here. And this is going to be demolished again.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, oh, that's going to, you're going to have.
The Beach Metro.
you're gonna have, well, if you're gonna have a 30-story again, all of these things are gonna be
High
demolished.
density
And well, I was able to save, well, not I, we were able to save the facade. One good thing I'll tell you where we stopped. You know where the, what do you call that? The Hockey Hall of Fame down on Young in front?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of our architects, Darling, put it on there. So years and years ago, they were going to rip the damn thing down. I was on the historical book. When I say on, there's about 15 or 20 of them that are on there, and we're responsible. So they're going to rip the thing. They're going to put one of those big giant things down there and rip the bank down there. So I said no. So what we used to do is go over and have a, how would you explain it to you? The developer brought us all, there's 20 of us on the board. And they brought us down to this place on Young, and one of those real classy places where they bought food and booze and everything for us. So I went down there with them, all the people, but remember, I'm what you call a shit disturber.
Somebody's got to be.
So I was down there, I said, no, I got the thing from somebody who said, we're all in favor of them going to do it. I said, no, I'll just have a coffee on you. And one of the guys, lawyers for the, we have a $5,000 donation, not to me, but in my favorite charity on here. I said, baloney on it. So, so I said no. So I voted against them. So then they said, well, here's what we'll do. You got to develop it. The city has a planner where they can give you air rights for north section of where you're building and everything. You can put a 30 high rise. So I said no. So what we did, we saved the front of the bank, which the bank on it became the Hockey Hall of Fame. So to this day, when I go by there, I always salute that. We saved the facade, so it's the same like this.
Yeah.
We saved the same thing on it. So we were able to save. And my next one is, when's my next place? Kingston Road. I put them, it's all in the beach.
Nice street, yeah.
Beach Metro on there, and like I said, I have not canceled any of my walks, or my first walk when I was in Melbourne, Cleveland, 1978 or something. I haven't canceled a walk once on it, so I don't intend to.
Thank you.
Unless I'm in my casket or something. So again, thanks for everybody for showing up.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Gene.
Thank you, sir.
Who's going back to the beaches? Anybody?
Oh, yeah. Hey, anybody signed a book? That's the one, Kingston Road.